The ivory-billed woodpecker is among the most elusive of all birds in the American South and Cuba. Possibly extinct, this iconic species has inspired people to comb the forests and swamps of the South in search of signs for it, since the last confirmed sighting occurred in 1987. Back when it was still common, the ivory-billed woodpecker was considered to be a top ecosystem engineer. Their long and sharp beaks enabled them to drill cavities in trees, creating homes not only for themselves but other species as well. Woodpeckers make distinctive sounds as they chisel into trees. Experts can even distinguish between different species by the sounds they make by their burrowing. This species has tufts of white feathers around its nostrils to keep out debris while it's drilling into wood. The ivory-billed woodpecker is a sedentary species, meaning it rarely travels far from its home. But some experts have suggested that it may move occasionally from place to take advantage of newly dead trees. The ivory-billed woodpecker was once found across most of the southeastern United States and Cuba. Its preferred habitat is extensive forests with a constant supply of dead or dying trees from fires, floods, or hurricanes. It relies on these trees for both food and habitation. The ivory-billed woodpecker creates a nest by excavating tree cavities with their sharp beak. It's believed that they create new nests every year just in time for the mating season. Pines, red maples, bald cypresses, and sugarberries are all considered to be suitable nesting sites. The scientific name of the ivory-billed woodpecker is Campephalus principalis. The genus name Campephalus is formed from the combination of two Greek words that roughly mean caterpillar-loving. Principalis is a Latin word meaning original or first in importance, perhaps referring to the enormous size of this species. There are two recognized subspecies, the American and the Cuban ivory-billed woodpecker. The ivory-billed woodpecker is characterized by its long ivory-colored bill, its curved black claws, and a large crest at the back of the head. The bird is covered in a glossy black plumage with white stripes running from the wings to the side of the head. The innermost wing feathers are also colored white. This is particularly prominent when the wings are folded against the back. Measuring between 19 and 21 inches long, this bird is the single largest woodpecker in the entire United States. Males tend to be slightly larger than females overall. Their crest is also colored red instead of black. The entire life of the ivory-billed woodpecker seems to depend entirely on forests. All of its foraging, roosting, and mating behavior takes place in and around trees. Each mated pair probably maintains its own separate home range, but the woodpecker is not defensive and territorial, as it shows little aggression toward members of the same species. While it's not social, per se, it has been observed congregating in groups of 3 or 4 birds at once. The ivory-billed woodpecker spends most of its day foraging for food. The peak of their activity occurs in the morning hours when they emerge from the hole to preen and call for mates. Their activity recedes slightly in the midday and then picks up again toward the evening. When the nighttime arrives, they roost in separate cavities. The ivory-billed woodpecker is not known to be migratory. It probably roams no more than a few miles away from its home nest. The ivory-billed woodpecker is an omnivorous species. Foraging mostly takes place on tree trunks, fallen logs, or sometimes even the ground. The ivory-billed woodpecker consumes berries, nuts, seeds, termites, beetles, and other insects. The bird finds its favorite food, the beetle larva, by stripping away the bark of dead or dying trees. Despite the absence of confirmed sightings, these woodpeckers are still listed as a critically endangered species by the IUCN Red List. Since its entire existence is dependent on dense tree cover, deforestation had a calamitous impact on this bird's population numbers. There are very few documented records of this woodpecker ever being preyed upon by other animals, but based on our understanding of closely related woodpecker species, it was probably eaten by raccoons, snakes, owls, crows, and hawks. Most predators would have preyed upon eggs and juveniles, but a large bird of prey could have taken on a full-grown woodpecker. There is unfortunately not a whole lot of information about the woodpecker's reproductive habits. Based on the limited data available, it's assumed that this species began building a nest in January and then laid a clutch of up to 6 eggs in February or later. The chicks were incubated by the parents for about 2 weeks and then took another 5 weeks to grow their full flight feathers. The relationship between a chick and parents can last more than a year, even after it has learned how to forage on its own. The lifespan of this species is unknown, but some speculate it could live around 20 years. No one knows how many of these woodpeckers currently remain in the wild. After decades of decline in the 19th and early 20th centuries, this species was considered to be functionally extinct, both in the wild and in captivity, but hope remains alive that it will eventually be rediscovered in the forested swamps of Cuba, Louisiana, Arkansas, or Florida. Based on unconfirmed sightings, its status was eventually raised to critically endangered.